Okay, we are on Daf Chaf Dalet Amud Bet 24b2, and we're in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says Kohen sheyesh be'adav mumin, a Kohen that has a blemish on his hands, lo yisa et kapav, he should not do berkat kohanim. Rabbi Yehuda says, Af mi shayu yadav sivuot setim, lo yisa et kapav. Even someone whose hands were dyed with this deep dye, and that could be from someone who deals with leather or dyeing wool or whatever, but the hands are dyed. And they're dyed in a way where they are where it's clear and it's obvious, it's noticeable to the people. The halacha is lo yisa et kapav mipnei sha'am mistaklim bo. You can't raise your hands to do berkat kohanim because the people are going to look at you. And what is the problem if they look at you? Who cares that they're going to look at you? So we noticed already in last class, we explained that Rashi says that the reason is that when the Kohen does Birkat Kohanim, you're not supposed to look at the Kohanim. That's where the minhag came from, by the way, to cover with the talit.
Over the head.
Yes, and that's also where the minhag came from, for fathers to stand with kids and throw the whole thing over. Why? Because you're blocking not only your own sight, but the sight of your children. Okay?
The people in the crowd cover their head with talit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You never knew that.
No.
Okay, that's good.
I do it with my kids.
Yeah.
I don't do it, no, I do it to bless them, but I cover them also. So, they don't look.
So you could bless them without the talit. The covering is to make sure that they're not looking either. Now, Rashi says on the spot, if we pointed out last time, that what is the reason? That when someone looks at the Kohanim, b'sha'ah shenosim et kapehem, look at Rashi, enav kehot, his eyes go dark. It ruins the person's eyesight because you're not supposed to be looking at the Shekhinah. And the Shekhinah is coming, the blessing is coming through the open hands of the Kohanim. And to be able to look at the Kohanim at that point is a dangerous proposition. However, we quoted already last time, I mentioned Tosafot, and when we looked at the words of the Masoret HaShas, the Masoret HaShas actually brings that Tosafot argues as well. Tosafot says that was only during the time of the Beit HaMikdash. But now, in our day, the reason why you don't look at the Kohanim, at the Kohanim's hands is not because of the Shekhinah, ostensibly because Tosafot holds that that's not present in the same way that it was in the time of the Beit HaMikdash. Rather, the reason why you're not looking at them is because of Hesech Hadat, which means your mind is wandering, your attention is being diverted from receiving the Beracha. And we proved from this that not only is there meant to be focus in giving the beracha, but there's also meant to be focus in receiving the beracha. Okay? That is the Mishnah in a nutshell. The Gemara says as follows. Tana, we learn in the Braita, mumin sha'ameru bifanav yadav veraglav. These that when we said that a person who has mumin, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean, like we saw in the Mishnah. In our Mishnah, what did it say? Kohen sheyesh biyadav mumin. He has blemishes on his hands. Let's say, as an example, he's missing a finger, okay? So that's a blemish on the hands. The Gemara is now bringing the Braita. It says that mumin is on his hands, on his face, and on his feet. Now, what is the reason why we're worried about his feet? Because when a Kohen does Birkat Kohanim, he's supposed to have his shoes off. So today we have this thing about socks, okay? But it was always, that wasn't the way it was. But your shoes would be taken off and your feet would be exposed. And since your feet would be on display, that could also be if a person is missing a toe, has some sort of weird mum, a person could lose their focus and get drawn, have their attention drawn away. Now, I just want to point out one thing. According to the Mishnah, Rashi's idea makes sense.
But
now you're talking about feet. What does that feet have to do with anything? So according to Rashi, how do you understand the Gemara? That we're worried.
With the feet.
distraction.
Sorry? No, but that the Shekhinah goes
feet are uncovered.
Distraction is Tosafot's answer. But Rashi's answer is that you can't look because
It says here, well, if you start with the feet, then you'll ultimately gaze up at the hands from Rashi.
right. No, that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's a stretch.
Is it? No, once you divert it with a
If I'm looking at a weird feet, I'm focusing only on the feet. Oh, you want to see?
it matches the hands.
See if it matches the hands. I've never heard that before. Okay, fine. So Rashi is going to have, because Rashi is forced, he's locked into his opinion that this is about the Shekhinah. Okay, so the Gemara, the Mishnah therefore says, the Braita therefore says, Panav Yadav, raglav. Panav is easy. It's right by his hands. That I understand.
Isn't the Kohen fully covered?
Sorry, even if they were covered, no, not completely.
Ah.
Not completely. Also, if you're shorter than a tall Kohen, you can see everything, right?
In the old days, would they put a talit? They would wear it or no?
I don't know for sure, but I imagine, as far as I know, yes. Okay? Now, the Gemara says, so that was,
Today we don't take off shoes. Kohanim?
it is a bone of contention.
Oh, really?
That I struggle with, because I've said to the Kohanim a million times to take off their shoes. But people will not take off their shoes and stay down because they're not going on the Duchan. So that's the halakha. To go on the Duchan, which is what they used to do on this platform, to bless, they would take off their shoes. If you can't take off your shoes, you stay down on the ground. So when a guy, I don't want to say his name.
Don't go up there.
Right. When there's a guy who's elderly or he's shaky, he takes off his shoes, he's nervous he's going to fall, or it's very hard for him to put his shoes back on, fine. But when it comes to a guy who's young, he should be doing it, right? The guy's like, so the guy tells me, Rabbi, I'm wearing tie shoes. I was like, so invest in non-tie shoes.
What does tie shoes have to do with that?
Because it has to tie the shoes.
Would your hands become?
Yes.
So then you can't.
If you tied and
You
untied.
have to unlace, then wash, and then go.
Yeah. Or you just take it off like this, because you could just easy to come off.
then wash
Then
it.
tie, then wash
You have
again.
a Kohen.
We're just laying it
Or, but by the way,
He just told me he doesn't take off his shoes.
Take 'em off.
a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. Chamovadia says specifically.
You have to
Thing.
take them off,
It's
Harry.
a thing that you don't.
Yeah.
Aren't you a Kohen too? No. I thought BB Kohen.
But it sounds like it's like a you have,
Logistical nightmare.
oh, it's a logistical nightmare.
Except, again, you know what the funny thing was? The funny thing was always for me is that, like, you have people who are so prepared for when they go to the airport. Like, they wear the shoes that they don't have to take off because they know TSA. Like, they make the heshbon when they go to the airport which shoes they're going to wear. You know, not with no metal in it. No, so understand. I understand.
Yeah, I mean,
but this is your birthright.
Right.
Like, this is your thing.
Right.
So, like, that should be, you know what I was thinking also, by the way? We got to bring back kangaroos.
What's kangaroos?
You're too young. Kangaroos used to tie the sneakers, and then on the side, it had like because this kangaroo has the pouch, it had that zipper. So basically, you could just have the shoe, put it on, and then zip.
Kids have, yeah.
Yeah, right. If you zip it up, then you don't need to wash your hands,
Right.
Because you're not tying the shoes. It's just the zipper, which never touches the ground.
Praying without shoes?
You're not supposed to pray without shoes because that's what avelim. That's connected with avelut.
It's just a nightmare.
Yeah, well,
Hello, slip-on shoes. That's it. That is the end of your nightmare. That was the shortest nightmare ever. Okay, let's move on.
I don't know how you don't take off your
Let's-
shoes after this.
That doesn't pass me.
It's not enough for you.
We got to show it him inside. We got to show it him inside. Okay, the Gemara says as follows. Now, what kind of mum are we talking about over here? Right? What does mum mean? The guy has a hangnail? What are we talking about? Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, Yadav bohakaniyot. If the person's hands, let's say he's got the like spots, different colors on his hands. Lo yisat kapav. Why? Again, what I always thought to myself is that an actual mum?
No.
Having spots on your hands?
Spot or is it?
I'm tempted to ask you who cares. A mum is a guy's missing a finger. A mum is a guy he's got 6 fingers, 4
There's
fingers.
guys that have
Anything
these
that-
cranberry-looking stains
Okay.
on their body. No,
Yeah.
no sketch.
Or like a liver, or like a
I mean, that's
liver.
boom. An H spot.
It's
you
like a
know,
sunspot. It looks like a sunspot.
No, it looks like a cranberry stain. Yeah, the people have that.
Yeah, there's lots of different skin conditions for sure.
Yes.
But what I always thought when I saw this Gemara is that the Gemara is not saying a regular item over here. What are we saying over here? Because remember, there's some types of mum that make you pasul as a kohen because it's a mum. Right? There's a whole category in the Torah. Here, what's the problem?
And it might be a distraction.
So it doesn't need to be a technical mum.
Right. So
Let's say the guy just has weird looking skin.
So why do they call
Hold
it-
on. Let's say a guy has, what is it called? It's alopecia? Not alopecia. Alopecia. Yeah, alopecia. So the guy has different colors, spots, white, brown, this, that. Yeah, you can have all different colors. So that's not a mum. It's not a mum. It's distracting. It's distracting.
I'd argue that maybe it's a moon.
Maybe, but you'd have to prove that.
It's easy.
Yeah?
Look at the person.
Good.
They're brown and white.
Yeah, but who says that's a mum?
Because a regular person doesn't have that. I guess you'd go by the majority.
Oh, so it's not that if I don't have something that regular people have, because I could also be very tall, and that's not a mum. So when the Torah tells you if the guy has this, that's a mum. The guy has that, that's a mum. If it doesn't mention this, so then
definitions.
but over here, since the Mishnah, yeah, you gotta pause. You gotta give me the pause. Okay. In what's it called? In what's it called? In this case, in the Mishnah categorized the mum as being something that's going to cause people to look. So here, it's not a matter of whether it's really a mum in the technical term of mum. It's a matter of whether or not it's what's it called?
Why
It's
do they use the word to begin with?
Moom. Why moom?
Because it
like
could
a
be
moom
confusing.
is when you damage the
then if
cow, no?
Because if you use that word,
mum is any it means a blemish.
right? But if you use that word and somebody's knowledgeable enough to know that mum has the definitions in the Torah, right, and it doesn't encompass what it's trying to, why would they use that word?
I have a weird question for you.
Yeah.
Of korban.
What if Esther was a man and a Kohen,
She's green.
and she pulled out those green hands? I kind of feel,
Ow,
That's-
that's
right?
Olive.
Yeah.
Olive. It seems like more than olive.
Mediterranean.
It seems more than it seems more than olive, right? We're going lizard over here. That's where we are in this class.
Should not be recorded.
Right. So if we're talking about the person has like green skin, right, and all of a sudden everyone's looking, that might not be a mum. It's weird.
Right.
If it catches someone's attention. So over here, the Mishnah seems to be saying, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, Bohakaniyot, someone who has the hands that spots on his hands, that would be, he's not supposed to do Birkat Kohanim. Tanya Namihachi, we learned also like this, exactly this concept. Yedav bohakaniyot, lo yisa et kapav. If a person has these spots on his hand, then he does not do Birkat Kohanim. Akumot, akushot, Lo yisa et kapav. If the hands are akum just means bent, okay? And akush means to a side. So one would be, so let's say maybe something like this, okay, bent forward, and akush would be something off to the different angle. So in either one of those scenarios, where the hand is it's something which is noticeable and it distracts, it takes away a person's concentration, so then you should not do Birkat Kohanim. So now we have three categories so far of mum in the hands that we've mentioned in the Braita, even though the Mishnah just left it undefined and unqualified. Yes?
Disqualify a kohen in times where if someone wanted to marry and they wanted that, would they cut a little off their pinky, meaning that they moom their hand? If you wanted to disqualify a kohen from being your...
That's not a thing.
Nah? It's not a thing?
No.
Oh, I thought that was a thing.
No, that's the thing that people invented in order to be able to,
Not a thing.
you know, that
That would be a moom. That's they're trying to do a moom to a kohen, so you would disqualify a kohen.
as an example, that would be a Kohen putting a mum on himself in order that he's ineligible for avodah.
Got it.
Okay?
All right. Oh, sorry. Between the Kohen under the talet and the Kahal under the talet,
Yeah.
both trying not to look at each other.
Remember, this idea that we have the talit is not a halakha.
Suggestion.
Yeah, so what about the guy who's not wearing a talit? Like there's sometimes when I'm reading a sefer or whatever, I'm standing there, I'm just standing there. My face is not covered with a talit. And a lot of Kohanim, they'll take the talit, it goes over their head, and now it doesn't really cover their hands, or the hands come out. Yeah. Or someone is very tall, Bert is sitting there. Remember, it's supposed to be on a duchan.
Right.
So the duchan might be, let's say you're in Sharet Zion. It's not like this big. The platform's high. So if you're sitting beneath the guy, even if his talet is over his
Eye level.
completely, you still see everything.
Thus the feet.
Oh, you mean if the feet are eye level? Yes, I would agree. And it's on the way to the hands, right?
So if someone, God forbid, has a stroke and they're temporarily paralyzed, or sometimes the hands move around, is that person disqualified from doing?
So let's break the question into two pieces. First of all, is that a mum? If something is temporary, one might have a question, is it a mum now but it goes away, or is it not a mum at all? Here it's irrelevant. Because the fact that something is distracting and makes people cut is enough.
We just said.
We just said it, yeah, exactly. It's not a regular mum that we're talking about over here, okay? Let's carry on. The Gemara continues and says, Amar Rav Asi, right? Rav Asi says, Chefani uvishani lo yisa et kapav. A person who comes from Haifa, Chefani, okay, and Beshani, which is from Bet Sha'an, lo yisa et kapav, he does not do Birkat Kohanim. Why? Fascinating. Isn't this amazing? What's the reason? Rashi says, what are these people? Kohen shu me'anshe Haifa, me'anshe Bet Sha'an, megamgemim b'leshonanhem. The way that they pronounce words is with a gimgum. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that they stutter, because you don't have a whole population stuttering. I'll give you an example of what this means. Did you ever hear someone who's Spanish?
Just spoke
Barcelona.
about it.
Just spoke about it.
Good thing Ashkenazi
So the guy
are not
he's
Kohanim.
speaking like, but that's is Espanol. That Latin. What would happen if the guy says, Yitha?
Oh, good.
So all of a sudden you have a Kohen from Haifani or from Bet Sha'an. The Braita is telling, Rav Asi is saying, he's distracting the people from listening to the Beracha. He should not do the Beracha.
So when they say wekunecha, like some readers they say vav is wa.
That's an interesting point, because they're capable of saying it another way. That's just that's how they feel that the word should be pronounced, right?
When they say kohanim,
Hold on, but let's back up. Let's back up. What about in Haifa?
Right? Can the Kohanim in Haifa make Kohanim in Haifa?
For sure, one would think, because everyone there is also pronouncing it the same way, so it's not distracting.
But
Okay.
maybe if there's a traveler that comes there, he'll be distracted.
So if Haifa comes to wherever, now you have a problem. Okay? So the Gemara continues as follows. You don't have someone go. Now this is Lifnei Teva. What is that referring to? Chazan. Now just pay attention. When we talk about Kohen, what do we say? Ole la duchan. Goes up to the platform. Okay? Duchan means, right, the platform. If you know Pizmonim, ala duchan, right? Kohen Yamid. Anyway, maybe not. Anyway, the Gemara said, deleted in post. However, when it comes to being the Chazan, what does it say? In Moridin Lifnei Teva. He doesn't go down in front of the Teva. Why does it say down in front of the Teva?
They used to pray down, right?
Excellent. In the olden times, what did they have? The Chazan was literally dug into the ground. And if you go to some old synagogues, they have the place where the Chazan would stand, and they literally dug a square 1 foot by 1 foot, because the pasuk says, Shila ma'alot, mima ma'akim kirati chamunai. I called out to you from the depths. Min ha'mesar karati. Exactly. So since I'm now in this position, so now the Chazan is calling out with from a lower place, from a more humble place, from a place of pain,
now
of
he's
suffering.
opposite. Now it's
So
up.
what does it say over here? En moridin. Now we have it up. Yes, go ahead, Morris.
Was that a custom, or was that the prevalent way they did it?
I'm proving to you from the offhand, nonchalant language of the Mishnah that was ubiquitous, right? Because it just en moridin lifnei teva.
Right.
So everyone's teva was moridin. Yes. They don't pray. So now not only are these guys not hazaning, they're also not praying. So if you come to the 7:30 minyan and you don't want to lead the minyan, first you move to Bet Sha'an, and then you come to 7:30 minyan. That way they can't. They can't. Exactly. And not the people from Haifa. Velo anshe tiv'onin. Also not the people from Tivonin. Why? Because they call Aleph and Ayin the same way. Basically, they were Ashkenazim. Except for Briskers. Right? Briskers are very careful with the Ayin. Not exactly Sephardi, but if you ever see a Brisker guy, Brisker's a type of yeshiva, they're very strict on everything. They're always thinking that they didn't fulfill the mitzvah. That's the opinion of Brisk. Like, they want to make sure they get it right. So when they say Shema, 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 it's ayin, and it almost sounds like they added at the end of it a nun and a gimel. Ang, like that. Okay? That's how they say it.
I found Shamis do that a lot. No?
What?
One of the Shamis, or I used to pray in Sephardic when I had Yortzeit.
Okay.
And there were a couple of Chazanim that would pronounce something at the end and add in an extra item.
That's like a dot in the hay.
You know what it was? Not a dot in the hay. It was like it was like a nun, and they would do it. I don't know. I forgot the thing, but I'll remember it.
Okay, all right. So I think I actually know what you're talking about, but it's eluding me. I think I know what you're talking about.
What's a word that they would say with an aleph that it would come out as an ayin?
No, so one second. Any. So let's say Asher Nishba Lavotecha.
Yeah.
Right? So we say in the Shema, right? Asher Nishba. Nishba. Why do we say ah? Why are we doing that?
Enunciate.
Why are we enunciating? Why does it say?
I don't know what
Because
the
it
word
could be
is.
swear.
Because the other side,
Swear and versus
Nishba is swear. But what is Nishba with an aleph?
to destroy.
Destroy. Excellent. We're nailing it, boys.
Rebbe.
There we go.
Mr. Rebbe taught me that. Come on.
Do you guys get this? So either you're going to say that God destroyed our forefathers, or you're going to say that God swore to our forefathers. So this idea, we're very careful with that ayin versus aleph, and especially the ones which could come out very negative. So in Ashkenaz pronunciation, if you say Shema Israel, they say Shema. Shema. There's no difference in the and the For Sephardim, it's It's very much coming from the
Shema
throat.
with the aleph?
Shema.
So
That would be the sound.
no,
But-
but what does it mean?
Shin mem aleph, is that a word?
Shema is there even a word?
Yes, Shema could mean like Shema, maybe, is Shin Mem Ayin, Aleph. Right? That's, as an example, one of them. But even if it's not an intensely negative reconstruction of the word, it's not what the word is. The letter is not that letter. So the Gemara is saying that since they were not, the Aleph was Ayin and Ayin was Aleph, so it sounds like they're just Ashkenazim. Yeah, but actually, no. Because if you look carefully, it actually says that they distinguished in their Aleph and their Ayin. And they just mixed them up.
Pronounce an aleph.
So it's by accident.
They say an Aleph as an Ayin and an Ayin as an Aleph, which means that they're not the same thing, that they had a different pronunciation. So this idea that you have all different parts of Am Yisrael pronouncing things differently, but as an example, the way we look at Ashkenazim and say, how could the Aleph and Ayin be the same? How could Chaf and Chet be the same? How does your Sephardic guy say Chet? Chet. Ashkenaz says Chet. And they also say Chaf. So we're looking at them, we're like, haha, it's the same. But for us, what's the difference between a Vav and a Vet?
A vav and a vet.
I thought we don't have a vet.
Officially, we don't have a Vet. But then why is it, what's the bet without the dot in it?
Sounds the same.
They ran out of ink?
Struck it from the record. We
That's
didn't
a
like
great-
that.
You see?
We have to deal with
So
that to
these
restructure.
things, it's where everyone is very comfortable where they're standing, pointing their finger, like, you don't make sense. Meanwhile, the guy next to you online, the Temani guy behind you is like, Selicha. Excuse me, what is your taf without a dot? We don't have one.
Right.
We don't have one. What is taf without a dot for Sephardim? They have taf and saf.
Top without a
Right, it's
top
a S
without a
sound.
dot is potato kugel.
So how does Sephardim pronounce it that don't pronounce saf? What do? No. Thaf.
Oh yes.
If you ever listen
Yes.
to Simon,
Shmuel told me that.
if you ever listen to Simon, who's very strict on his pronunciation, like the Iraqi style, so it's they say that the taf without the dot is th, because it's half of the t sound. That's the idea. So it's a soft t.
Yeah.
A bet without a b is a soft b, and that's a
Yeah.
b.
It's like
B.
Yeah.
And where do you find that? If you
Well,
listen
it is.
carefully, where you say with under the chuppah, what's the word after that? No, vikidushin. Vikidushin is incorrect because it's a vet, not a vav. 1 second, you understand the difference? Chuppah vikidushin means God makes them available to you. You're allowed to be with them if you have chuppah vikidushin. This and this. Chuppah vikidushin means chuppah within the kiddushin. Two different meanings.
Oh wow.
So how are you supposed to say it? So some people just say chuppah b'kiddushin. Some people say chuppah v'kiddushin, but it's supposed to be chuppah
Kiddushin.
because it's b. Is that?
Tough one.
It's exactly the same logic as t and th. So it's b and b versus b and v. You see the difference?
Sorry, it's supposed to be chuppah in or chuppah
Chuppah in. Chuppah b'kid, like, but not b. Chuppah b, like b.
It's like
It's not an easy
with a
sound.
Het and the vet mean the same thing.
They mean the same thing, but there's a reason why you chose one or the other.
Why?
I'm not gonna say that I know the laws of dikduk so well, but if there's a bet and a vet, there's a reason why one is one and one is the other. Sometimes it's just the law of where it is in the word. Like as an example, you should never have in the beginning of a word is always pay, not fey, which is why my name is Farhi. Either way, I got in the cab once and the guy said to me, "Lo, what's your name?" Farhi. Lo. לא יכול להיות. זה פרחי. I'm like, you finished? Are you finished? Only in Israel. You know their name better than me. I was like, are you finished? He goes, yeah. I said, it doesn't come from Hebrew. It comes from the Arabic word farah. So your rules, see you later. Okay, bye. Let's move on. Says the Gemara. So these people, it's not that they didn't pronounce properly, it's that they were saying wrong letters. So their alifs were ayins and their ayins were alifs. Okay?
Stephanopoulos.
What's that?
No. Bet-Shan.
Is Stephanopoulos? That's
Stephanopoulos. This is Roman. Yeah, it's a Roman.
that's where the area was. You mean? Okay, I thought you said
No,
Stephanopoulos.
when the Romans conquered Israel,
Yes.
they built a whole city in Bet-Shan.
Right.
Well, I think it's called Synthenopolis.
Right.
And
Okay.
it's still there.
Right, with all of
went
the
there.
ruins.
Yeah.
I think I've been there.
It's phenomenal.
I've seen the
You have to go to Bet-Shan. It's amazing.
I've seen the Roman stuff in what's it called in Caesarea, but I don't think I saw it in
Yeah,
Bet-Shan.
it's amazing.
Okay. Amar le Rabbi Chia. By the way, I always wondered, once you see this Gemara, so what happens if a guy goes up who's not proficient in Hebrew,
You hope there's another
a
guy.
Kohen that makes mistakes, does he not supposed to duchan? Because Aleph and Ayin and Aleph.
Chazan, by saying the word first, doesn't that show them how to say the word?
Ask the question reversed, then Haifa and Bet-Shan should be good because
They
they
should
just
be
were,
fine at
they
that.
were just taught how to say
Is
it.
also from Haifa.
No, he's not allowed to be.
Can't be the
He's
Chazan.
not allowed to be.
If you have a lisp or if you speak differently.
What if you have a lisp? Good question.
Even if you say the word to the person, they can't repeat it back.
You should just know, by the way, there's an interesting thing with, I forget there's an actual name for this, when people mix up phonetics. It's almost like dyspraxia or dyslexia, but in speech.
Right?
So even though you've said it to me, I can't say it back the way that you just told me to say it for some whatever reason. I don't know exactly, but I'm unable to do it. I can't repeat it back. So again, would we have another question? Would that be the case? Amar le Rabbi Chia le Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi. Rabbi Chia said to Rabbi Shimon, "Ilmale ata Levi, pasul ata min hatuchan." He says to him, if you were a Levi, okay, Ilmale ata Levi, if you were a Levi, pasul ata min haduchan, you would not be able to sing on the Duchan. Now remember, normally when we talk about the Duchan, what are we talking about? Kohanim for Birkat Kohanim. But the Leviim also, right, sang on the Duchan. So one more time. Ala Duchan, Kohen Yamid, Yakriv Korban. Right? That's what it talks about in that song. That's Yifrach Ya'avi. But there's Ve'kohani, Gam Levi, Yeshor Shiri. The job of the Levi was to sing. And where did they sing? Also on the steps, but also on the Duchan. So there was two places the Leviim would sing. So he said to him, if you were a Levi, he tells him, Rabbi Chia said to Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi, if you were a Levi, you would not be allowed to sing. Why? Mishum da'avi kalach. Because his voice was very thick. Okay? The guy sounded like Darth Vader. I don't know. Yeah? He sounded at a very, Luke, I am your, right? So he,
This
What a shamble.
sorry?
just this guy. You're saying not. It's not. This is not.
This has nothing to do with the
No,
move
general
or
rule.
No, of the B'nai.
No, not Bet-Shan Haifa. He's now continued.
This
We're gonna
guy,
have no
just this
people to
rabbi.
sing, no people to chazan.
You said Ilma Lela Levi. So if he was it just this person?
He said to him, you know how we're talking? You're talking to me like this. And the guy says, if you were a Levi, you would not be able to sing. Why? Because everyone else is singing, this whatever song they're singing, Shir Lamalot. You're like, Shir
You
Lamalot.
need a soprano, no?
Yeah, but that's too much. That's too much, maybe.
So anyone like that.
So, but again, we keep seeing more and more iterations of the fact that this is not mum. It's not a blemish in you. It's a blemish in the Birkat Kohanim. It's a blemish in the singing of the Leviim because it distracts. Okay? Ata amalela avua. So this guy, Reb Shimon, now he got shambled by Reb Chia. By the way, I just love the fact that this is like a theoretical insult. Right? Like, if you were a Levi, you would be pasul. Okay? Amale, he said to him, Zil emale. Go tell the father now said to the father Rabbi Shimon said to Rabbi Shimon, okay, who was Rabbi Shimon's father? Rabbi Yehuda. He says, Zil emale, go tell him, Kishata migia etzel v'chikiti laHashem lo nimtzeta mecharef umegadef. What does that mean?
You tell me.
Let's look at the pasuk. The pasuk says, what's the full pasuk? V'chikiti lach. V'chikiti laHashem, and I will wait for Hashem. Hamastir panav mibet Yaakov, who hides his face from the house of Jacob. V'kiviti lo, and I hoped, and I and I prayed and hoped towards him. So Rabbi Chia, who was busy telling Rabbi Shimon that if he was a Levi, that he would be right, that he would not be able to do the singing. Rabbi said, go tell him, the guy that just shambled you for nothing, that when he comes to the pasuk of V'chikiti, Rabbi Chia had a problem with the reading of the letter Chet and the letter Chaf, and the letter Kaf.
Hey, no?
Letter Chet and letter Hey, excuse me. So V'chikiti la Hashem, what would he have said? He would have said, V'hikiti lach, because la Hashem would be, instead of laha, lacha.
To Hashem. And
Yeah.
smite Hashem.
It would sound like, and I hit Hashem.
great.
So he said, doesn't that going to make you into a mecharef u'megadef, a person who's trying to hit God?
That's weird.
So
Why would they do this?
So Rebbe is basically expressing to Rabbi Chia, no, Rabbi Chia was trying to teach Rabbi Shimon, was trying to teach a halacha. So he singled out Rabbi Shimon and his very deep voice to teach the halacha.
Right, to really make a point.
To make the point, to show how it is. Rabbi Shimon goes home and tells his father. Rabbi Yehuda, the way I understand it, did not think it was sensitive for him to show the halacha on somebody. So he said, let me show you how that feels. Because if you were to say this pasuk, wouldn't that make you out to be mecharef u'megadef?
It's like a mic drop moment.
I don't know if it's a mic drop moment as much as let me show you how this feels when someone uses you as the example.
He shambled the guy too.
Yes. Yeah, but the first guy also shambled the guy.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm saying, but there's come back.
That Mr. Us maybe.
It might be. He might have forgotten. He might have forgotten it. Or no, his coat's here. Okay. Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna continues. Zav legan lo yisa et kapav. This is amazing. Zav legan. What a great expression. Zolgin means when tears flow down your from your face. But how about a person who's constantly crying? So in other words, he's got tears running down his face all the time. Okay. Now there's two ways of understanding what this means, and I'm not actually sure from looking at the commentators. I'm not actually sure what they mean, because the first way you could learn zav legan means that the eyes themselves. You ever see someone whose eyes always look like they're about to start crying? They're like filled with liquid.
Puffy.
No, but there's liquid in it.
I have it every morning.
You have it, right? Oh, since then, because it can't drip out. So you've got, the guy's eyes are just like completely wet. Okay? So that would be one way of understanding a zav legan. The other way is understanding a person who has trouble.
Yeah, someone was calling me twice.
Yeah, the other way of understanding it is that a person, there's a problem with his tear ducts, so he's just constantly crying. He can't stop, so it's something that's noticeable and catches people's attention. Other opinions say it's not referring to the water from the eyes, it's referring rather to other liquids or mucus or whatever that could come from a person's nose or from the mouth. If you ever seen someone who the muscle at the bottom of the lip can sometimes be damaged, and then it hangs, and once it droops, then it starts leaking out of the drool out of the mouth. So it could come out of the mouth, it can come out of the nose.
Happens after a stroke a lot.
It can happen after a stroke, yes. It can also happen from, I forget the name of it, bar.
Bar syndrome?
Is it
Epstein-Barr syndrome?
Epstein-Barr is mono.
It's
something else.
Bell's palsy.
Bell's palsy, exactly. Where one side of the face, and it can be temporary. It can be temporary. And the mouth just droops on one side of the face. But again, remember, it can't stop the liquid from coming out of the mouth. So again, that would be another thing that would do this. Now, it wouldn't invalidate the person forever. It would just be while the person
you
has
have a cold.
this distracting.
If you have a cold and
Anything which
runny
is
nose or something.
anything which is within the normal realm of whatever is, I would not say is a problem.
How much of this,
People got colds.
How much of this are we supposed to take literally and apply today?
This is purely halachic.
What is halakha?
Yeah.
What is halakha?
This is pure halacha. How we're understanding what was allowed for duchan and what was not allowed for duchan.
So if a Kohen has a cold and they keep sniffing.
No. Cold is a normal known thing. Here we're talking about something which is extraordinary. As well, did you ever see a guy have a cold and you're like, wow, are you distracted by a guy that has a
If a
cold?
guy's continuously sniffing in
You don't
shul,
know
I'm
what
for
goes on
sure
with that.
looking.
Now, because post-COVID, we're like the bifflage.
But the
But in a-
qualifier is distracting. It's not.
By the way, let's go to that. During COVID, you have a guy who's coughing as a Kohen. 100%.
100%.
100%. He should not be doing. He should not be.
Someone was called.
He should not be. He should not be on the
I
duchan.
couldn't even pray.
Yeah, because you're flipping out. You think you're
Have
dying.
you ever told anybody, hey, listen, what you have
No,
is distracting?
you know the rabbi.
I've said during COVID, I've told people who were coughing during tefillah that it's a bigger mitzvah for them to stay home.
Yes, that was in the height of COVID.
In the height of COVID, when people were
Now you
dying.
wouldn't
Now
do
you can't
that.
say it.
No, because now COVID is just another.
No, I'm talking about
By the way, you realize that this recording is now banned from YouTube. Yeah. Vaccines.
from the perspective
Hamas.
from the perspective of Kohanim, not COVID. From the perspective of being distracting, have you ever told somebody, maybe they had a moment, maybe they had some issue, hey, listen, it's not appropriate for you to say Kohanim?
So you'd have to really judge. You'd have to really judge because the halacha is kol hamabim pnei havero berabim. If someone embarrasses someone in public, ki'ilu shofech damo. It's like you killed him.
Killed him.
Guy goes up there to the duchan and you walk up to him and you're like, listen, dude, there's levels of ugly.
Yeah.
You are so ugly.
No, but afterwards you pull them to the side, hey, listen,
If in a scenario where I knew that I could get that through to the person, yes. I've read other scenarios that maybe I'll share after the video recording is turned off. That I just want to share afterwards. Okay, let's just finish this and we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up here. So the Gemara says Zav legan lo yisa kapav. But again, we're referring to a scenario where the person is where it's extreme. That to the point where people are going to be taken staring by it. The Gemara asks, what are you talking about? There was a guy, okay, and he used to do this. He used to spread his hands. In other words, he used to go up to be a Kohen, even though he had this condition of Zavlegan. The Gemara answers, Hahu dash bi'iro. This guy, he's there all the time. Everybody's used to him. No one's looking. So you have a scenario where something could be asur, could be an exclusion in the short term, but over time just becomes a normal thing because everybody knows it already, and now nobody's looking.
But isn't it in the beginning he shouldn't be allowed?
Yes. So
Then if he's not allowed in the beginning, then you shouldn't get to a place where he's
no, because you get used to it. Not during Kohanim.
Oh,
I see the guy all day long.
in general.
Yeah. Let's say a guy part of the community. Let's say you have a guy who's got any of these conditions, and now nobody even gives a second look.
He's a guy in shul.
He's just a guy in shul. Once a person gets to that stage, something which is not a real moom, which is not really a distraction, one would
The
understand.
question is, what is that? What's the time period associated?
The
with
Gemara is not giving an exact measure for it. The way I would say, it's actually pretty simple. Some of these things are very hard to ascertain. Just watch the guy. Ahlan wa sahlan. Just
could have used him today.
Exactly. Just watch the guy. By the way, when he walks in the room, are people staring? So it's quite easy to make that judgment call. The minute the guy walks in and no one's looking at him, the rabbi knows now's a good time. You tell him to start doing
I have
guanim.
a great question for you.
Go for it.
Guy's a convert.
Yeah.
He says, I'm from the tribe of XYZ. Okay? And he looks different than we do. Can he would, logically I would think that he would be Yisrael. Would it be categorized as anything?
So let's first point out one thing. Generally, in those instances, they can't be a Kohen. Why? Because the whole logic is that they are the Bnei Menashe. That they're from this tribe or those 10 tribes that went to wherever. None of that's not Kohanim.
What if the guy says, I'm a Kohen?
Now, 1 second. What happened? I'll give you better than that. One generation after that, that guy, that girl, marries a guy who's a Kohen. Now the kid is African American colored, and now is it going to be distracting? So long as it's distracting, one would imagine it's the same thing. What difference is it from spotted hands? No difference.
But it's not. He's a regular guy.
That's the point I keep saying. It's not that there's a mum here. There's no blemish here. There's nothing wrong with the guy. It's just this is something that causes people to stare. I'd imagine if you had a guy who was 8 feet tall, walked in, and everyone's like,
Mari.
that would be also a problem. I would imagine that would also be a problem. Because we're not judging a mum. We're just saying something that's causing people to stare. Yeah, it's a distraction.
But the conservatives have the Kohanic conversion theory.
Yeah, Shema Israel.
They have a lot of theories.
Yeah, Annie. Okay.
Says the same thing.
We should never press record.
Yeah, Annie. Okay.
That's why it went off for a reason.
It's been on mute, by the way, the whole
It went
time.
off for a reason.
No, it hasn't. Okay. Let's continue. Yes. Tanya Nami Hachi. That we learned exactly like this. Zav legan lo yisad kapav, the person who has this extra amount of tears, he should not raise his hands, do kohanim. Hayadash biro mutar, but if he's already familiar in the city, already it's mutar because now everyone got used to it. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, by the way, it is possible to learn the Gemara that we were only saying this exclusion people get used to by Zav legan. But the other ones, maybe the other ones, no. Right? Maybe the other ones.
Skin tone already.
Yeah, maybe we wouldn't say that. Because the Gemara only says it about Zav Legan. Now one would imagine that it applies to the other ones as well. Okay? But we'll get through it in a minute. Okay? Says the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan says, someone who's blind in one of his eyes, he's not allowed to do bekat kohanim. Now, obviously, if it says in one of his eyes, if he's blind in both eyes, alachat kama v'kama, because that's for sure an actual mum. Okay? Sorry?
Including, what would be for both?
It would be, the way the Gemara would say it is zu, ve'en tzarich lomar zu, which means this, and we don't even have to mention this, okay? Gemara says, and what's the reason why he can't do kohanim? If he's blind in one of his eyes, or as well if in two of them? The answer is because, again, it's something that people are busy looking at. So it's not actually because he's a Baal Mum as a Suma, but rather because it's something that people are looking at. The Gemara says, there was a guy in Rabbi Yochanan's neighborhood, split his hands and he was blind over there in one eye. The Gemara answers, also the same idea, he was someone that already everyone had become familiar, and once everyone understands and they're not bothered and they're not distracted, already you're allowed to do it. Now, once we now have Harry, a second example of suma that we were then able to overcome. So you don't say, it's just Zav Legan that if they get used to, it's allowed. Because here you see as well, we applied the same logic to suma bechad me'enav.
You say that it only called out those two and nothing else, so that's why...
Yes, you could say that, but still, if suma would have been, if the second example would have been another light one, then I can imagine that would work. But once suma, which is a heavy one, is also allowed...
It's heavy, but it's not a heavy distraction. If someone's blind, you might not know.
Good svara. I like that. No, it's a good svara. Let's see the Braita. Tanya Nami Hachi, we learned a svara.
I don't think they blink.
I don't know.
Interesting. That maybe the way the guy's eyes.
I think
Tanya Nami Hachi, we learned also in the Braita, Suma bechad me'enav lo yisa et kapav. A blind person in one eye should not do b'kat korim vayadash biro mutar, but if everybody knows him already, then already chas. Yehuda says Misha yadav tzivuot lo yisa et yadav. He should also, someone who has his hands that are stained. We already read in the Mishnah that he does not do nisiat kapayim. Tana im rovan she'a'ir melachtam bekach mutar. If everybody has the same jobs in the city, now this is interesting. Because look at the difference between this time and last time. Last time it just says dash biro. Everyone got used to it. How many blind guys do you need in order for this blind guy to be able to do it? None. If they got used to it, they got used to it. How many criers, excessive criers, do you need to have in order to have what's it called? None. Just they got used to it. All of a sudden, when it comes to staining, the Gemara now here brings the Braita that says, Rov anshe ha'ir melach, most of the people in the city, that's their job, then it's mutar.
It's strange.
Why?
Why? To get familiar with the guy, it's his job. Why
Why does it need it? That's so, it's strange.
You will never.
No one
be
has a
familiar
problem
with
taking
it.
the guy's money when he comes to pick
So
up
I have a simple answer. Very simple answer.
No.
I think the answer is that when it comes to Suma or when it comes to Zavlegan, it's something which is strange. But when something is more that is spotted, it's different colors, your eye can't help but be drawn to it. So it's not about the fact that you got used to it, right?
It's always
It's
distracting.
always distracting. Says the Gemara, when is it not distracting? When it's so common that every single person, most of the city is that way. At that point, the eye gets so used to it that even though it's two different colors, the eye doesn't pick it up in passing. That's how I want to explain the Gemara. Baruch Hanei Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.